Breaking news, as a matter of fact, out of the city of David, ancient Jerusalem, one of my favorite places in all of Israel. Yet another amazing archaeological discovery at the city of David.
Deep below layers of soil and myth lies a chamber lost for thousands of years. Researchers have searched dusty libraries and winding tunnels to find any trace of the famous King Solomon. This hidden tomb held tales of wealth, power, and wisdom. Silence reigned until some archaeologists cracked a heavy stone seal with the help of modern technology. Secrets sprang to light at the moment metal met rock. Curiosity will drive us into that ancient space today. They found strange markings, sealed stones, and a silence so heavy it felt alive. But what exactly did they find beneath the dust of King Solomon's forgotten world? Unearthing the legend. King Solomon is one of the most famous rulers in history. He reigned over Israel around 5,000 years before our era. Stories of his great wealth and wisdom are narrated in the Holy Book and through songs too. Some tales say he built a grand temple in Jerusalem. Others talk of treasures so vast they shone like the sun. For centuries, many believed his tomb lay lost under centuries of legend. Archaeologists and treasure hunters have long searched for any sign of his final resting place. Old maps pointed to scattered ruins near the city walls. The folklore spoke of strange stones and secret caverns. Despite that, no clear proof was found. Some sites proved to be ancient waste pits. Others turned out to be tombs of nobles or priests. Each dig raised hopes, only to leave many questions lingering. In the past decade, a group led by Dr. Eli Shalev decided to try a new approach. They combined old texts with satellite images. They scanned the area just north of the old city of Jerusalem. This team used ground-penetrating radar to see beneath the surface. Lightning strikes and natural faults made their task harder. Still, the machines revealed a sealed chamber hidden under rubble and sand. The team worked in secret, as they did not want treasure hunters to spoil the site. Workers covered any signs of digging with tarps to avoid any tracing. Authorities granted special permits under strict rules. Only a handful of experts knew the real purpose of the mission. Word of the project spread through people who were continuously talking about it. Rumors began to spread of a treasure that could shake history. Excavation began in early spring, when the ground was firm. Shovels and brushes cleared centuries of soil. At first, the team found broken pottery and animal bones. Those were normal things that could be found anywhere in Jerusalem. Then a flat stone slab appeared amid the earth. It measured more than 2 meters in length. It lay at a slant, as if pushed from inside the earth long ago. No markings showed on its worn surface. The workers cleaned its edges and traced a seam all around. Dr. Shalev ordered a thin metal probe to be slid into a crack. The sound it made was so hollow. At that moment, hope spread through the team of researchers. They marked the slab for careful lifting. Cranes and rigging arrived the next day. Slowly, inch by inch, the heavy lid moved. Dust spilled out like a small cloud over the trench. When the slab finally tilted back, a dark opening yawned before them. A chill wind rose from the depths. They were dumbfounded by what they saw. All eyes were fixed on the mouth of the chamber. It looked like a yawning mouth of stone, something no one has ever come across in their entire life. Behind it, faint shapes waited in silence. The year was nearly 5,000 years after King Solomon's time, if tradition held true. Once the lid lay fully visible to everyone, Dr. Shalev signaled to lower a camera inside. Its light swept across walls lined with carved niches. Shapes of jars and clay vessels emerged. No gold shone at the moment, only earthen colors and dust. This was not a false lead. This was the real thing. The legend of King Solomon's tomb was no longer just a tale from old books. It was a living sight below their feet, but cracking open the tomb was just the beginning. Who did Dr. Shalev trust to decode these secrets? And could this team really handle what they were about to find? Gathering the team. Right from the start, Dr. Shalev knew he needed more than a handful of helpers. He reached out to universities in Israel, the United States, and Europe. Experts in ancient languages, chemistry, and 3D imaging joined the cause. Each brought their special skills. Archaeobotanists would study plant remains, geologists would test stone origins, Conservators would handle fragile objects. Historians would compare findings with old texts. Among them was Dr. Fatima al-Hassan, a specialist in Near Eastern inscriptions. She had worked on temple remains in Egypt and Babylonia. Another key member was Professor Marcus Lee, a geochemist from Oxford. He had mapped out ancient trade routes by studying metal traces. Dr. Lior Ben-Ami, an expert in leather scrolls, was also on board. He had helped restore fragments of the Dead Sea Scrolls decades earlier. Logistics were very important. The site lay in a busy urban area. Heavy equipment had to arrive at night to avoid traffic jams. Permits were arranged in advance with the Israeli Antiquities Authority. Security guards patrolled every corner of that area to keep everything safe. No unauthorized person could enter that area. Video feeds ran around the clock to a central tent. Even a dropped phone on site could spoil the discovery, so they had to be cautious. The team set up an on-site lab in a nearby building. It had workstations for cleaning the items they found, microscopes and a small freezer. Samples of dust, pollen and soil would be stored there. Each object lifted from the tomb was tagged, measured and photographed within hours. A digital twin of the chamber was built in virtual reality. Researchers in Berlin and New York could log in at any hour to review the scene. Beyond scientists, guides and laborers played a key role. They brought knowledge of hidden springs of water beneath the ground. They knew ancient quarries where stones might have come from. Their families had lived in the area for generations. Some could point to old wells now buried under roads. Others recalled stories from their grandparents about strange noises in the hills. Communication was constant. Every evening, the core team gathered in a tent to share their thoughts and findings. Plans for the next day took shape at night, under dim lamps. Decisions about where to dig next came after some heated conversations. At times, tensions ran high. A piece of pottery might point to one era, while a metal object spoke of another. Sorting these mixed clues required patience. Funding this massive effort cost millions. There are donors who stepped forward once word spread about the discovery being anticipated. A foundation linked to a museum in London offered support in exchange for future exhibitions. A tech firm provided the scanning gear at a reduced price, hoping to show off its new radar system. Each sponsor knew the stakes. A genuine tomb of King Solomon would draw crowds from around the world. On the final day before opening the chamber, the full team assembled for a photo. Their faces shone with excitement and nerves. Cameras flashed. They looked like explorers on the brink of history. No one spoke much. All felt the weight of what lay ahead. They had come as individuals from many nations. They would emerge forever linked by this one moment. Breaking the seals. The morning of the opening came. The sky was very calm, giving an assurance of a successful day. Workers removed protective clothes from the stone lid. Dust motes danced in shafts of sunlight. Dr. Shalev stepped forward with a mallet and chisel. His heart beat fast, which could be because he was anxious. Who knows? He tapped gently along the seam. Each strike echoed through the silent air. A fine line of light could be seen from a distance. With careful chiseling, he widened the crack enough to insert a steel bar. 10 men held ropes attached to the bar. At his signal, they pulled together. A shudder ran through the slab. It shifted half a centimeter. Heartbeats quickened. No one could utter a word. Another tug, another shift. Finally, the slab creaked free on one side. Fresh air spilled from the chamber like a long-held breath. The team stepped back to clear the way. A ladder went down first. An assistant climbed into viewfinder range. He waved to show the chamber was open. Then a second camera followed. Its beam swept walls lined with deep niches. Each niche was carved into the rock. Inside lay broken jars, bowls and lids. Nothing like the shining treasures some had hoped for. Yet, still more lay beyond, in deeper darkness. The assistant climbed out and reported to the team on the ground by radio. Dr. Shalev raised his hand to signal his co-workers. They lowered a light stand with LED panels. Shadows retreated at once. The chamber revealed its shape and true form. It was rectangular and narrow. Walls rose 3 meters. The floor was layered with debris, crumbled stones, dust and shards. Along one wall stood 2 tall stone benches. They looked like thrones without a single decoration. On the opposite side lay a long shelf carved into rock, its surface smooth, as if polished on purpose. Each niche held a pot or jar. Some were plain clay, others bore painted bands in red and white, a few had lids sealed tight. The team noted names inscribed on rims in ancient script, the letters read as tribal marks, names of cities once ruled by the great King Solomon. That hint tied the site to his reign during ancient times. This group of researchers and experts from different fields removed one sealed jar. They set it in a padded crate. The jar looked sturdy, almost new, despite the dust it had all over it. It held shards of papyrus, now brittle. Conservators would study them back at the lab. Nearby lay an ivory comb, its surface carved with geometric lines. Wood had long vanished, leaving the core intact. All through the day, the team worked methodically. They wore gloves and masks to protect themselves. Each item that was found went through a thorough checkup and was cleaned with brushes and soft tools. A rolled leather bundle was passed through X-rays. It revealed faint lines of writing inside. That bundle might hold fragments of verses from old wisdom texts. As dusk fell, the chamber was empty of objects, but full of data that was long needed. Photographs filled dozens of memory cards. Scans mapped every inch of the walls. Soil samples were labeled by depth and position. Nothing was rushed. No one dared make a false claim. Years of work lay ahead in labs and archives. Despite the heavy work they did during the day, they still stayed all through the night to continue with the job. They had broken seals, and no human hand had touched them in millennia. They had crossed the boundary between existing myth and the proof that had just been discovered. The next day would bring deeper analysis, but on that night, they stood amazed by what they had seen. But if the empty tomb shocked them, what they found inside the sealed jars would change everything. Could these objects finally prove that this was truly Solomon's lost resting place? Treasures and texts. In the lab, the first findings drew gasps. The sealed clay jar held a gold cup. Its rim was thin and perfect. Engraved on its side was a name in ancient Hebrew script. The letters read, "To Solomon, son of David." The cup had fine filigree work along the handle, showing the skill of artisans long gone. Nearby lay an ivory inlaid scepter head. It was small, only 30 centimeters tall. Experts dated its ivory to an elephant species now extinct in the region. The handle once bore a long shaft of cedar wood, now vanished, leaving only metal clasps. Some believe it was part of the many items used in royal ceremonies. Trade goods from distant lands lay among the rubble. Small amphorae once carried frankincense and myrrh from southern Arabia. Beads of carnelian likely came from India. A bracelet of lapis lazuli hinted at links to Egypt. Each object told a story of a kingdom at the crossroads of trade. The leather scroll fragments proved most thrilling. Conservators carefully unrolled them under glass microscopes. Tiny letters in ink remained visible. Researchers believe they form parts of the words of wisdom similar to sections of the Book of Proverbs in the Holy Bible. If true, these fragments could rewrite what we know of early Hebrew literature. One clay tablet bore an administrative record. It listed supplies sent to Jerusalem over 20 years. Grain, olive oil, and wine from coastal towns were noted. Names of governors and some officials were stamped on its surface. That tablet could help historians pinpoint years of King Solomon's rule more accurately. Another finding was a beautiful ring made of bronze. It had a small inscription reading "Seal of Solomon." Whether it belonged to the king or a servant remains unknown. Some say it might have opened hidden doors in the tomb. Others dismiss that as just something legendary. An unusual cup caught their attention. On its base were symbols resembling stars and spirals. Some online theories call them occult signs of ritual magic. No solid proof links King Solomon to magic, though legends often describe him as a master of spirits. Scholars urge caution when figuring out these discoveries. The symbols could be decorative or related to moon phases for planting seasons. Every item passed through carbon dating and isotope analysis. Stones were traced back to quarries in the Sinai. Pottery came from workshops near Hebron. Ivory showed chemical markers of African forests. Leather dated back 3,000 years, with a margin of error of a few decades. High-resolution photos went on display in a secure room. Virtual visitors remotely toured the chamber in 3D. Museums around the world requested replicas of key discoveries. a lead curator in London called the discoveries among the most important of our time. Despite the treasures, the team felt the weight of responsibility. Each artifact needed careful storage and study. No item would leave the country without official approval. Conversations began over which museum would house the Golden Cup permanently. Unknown scroll fragments remained the top prize. Researchers and archaeologists worked day and night to decipher letters. Every new phrase brought hope of learning what King Solomon himself might have written. Could these fragments include parts of lost proverbs? Or perhaps royal decrees? What do you think? Share your thoughts with me in the comments section. Answers may lie hidden in ink that dried thousands of years ago. The scrolls hinted at secrets, but truth demands patience. Could a deeper chamber or ancient DNA finally confirm this is Solomon's tomb, or will it remain history's greatest mystery? Questions remain. Even with the stunning discovery, many mysteries linger. Was this truly King Solomon's tomb or one of his officials? The inscription on the cup strongly suggests a royal connection. However, skeptics note that rulers who came after King Solomon could have placed items there as a tribute. Proof lies in more evidence, perhaps a final chamber deeper below. DNA tests on organic material might offer clues. If any human remains exist, comparison to known burial patterns could confirm identity. Isotope analysis of bones would show if the person grew up in Jerusalem or elsewhere. That work will take months or even years. The leather scrolls pose another puzzle. Gaps in the text leave room for misinterpretation. If scholars and researchers fill in missing parts with familiar verses, they risk bias. Only hard evidence should guide translations. Even so, missing pieces may never be found. Maybe they are lost to decay. Word spread of a signet ring hidden on a side shelf in the chamber. A few team members claim to have glimpsed a small box behind a pillar. No pictures of them have been shared yet. Some say the box contained a ring with the king's seal. Others insist it was only a broken piece of pottery. Until proof surfaces, each account remains a rumor. Questions about ritual practice also arise. The symbols on the special cup fuel speculation of secret rites. Was King Solomon known for magic or learned traditions? Ancient texts in the region describe kings who studied stars and seasons. That knowledge may have seemed like magic to common people. Without clear records, we can only guess. Residents share tales of strange lights near the site at night. Some claim to hear chants under the ground. Archaeologists focus on facts, but stories spread fast across the world. Ghost hunters and conspiracy blogs add layers of rumor. The team takes precautions to guard against looting. However, folklore runs wild. Next steps include careful publication of findings. Peer-reviewed articles must back up claims. A full report on inscriptions is due later this year. Conferences in Jerusalem and abroad will host different experts for a discussion. Museum exhibits will follow, but only after experts agree on key points. Even as science moves ahead, the public will remain fascinated. Tours of the display lab peek behind glass walls. Schools plan field trips once the site opens to visitors under strict rules. Virtual reality experiences let people walk among stone benches in the tomb. King Solomon's reputation for wisdom and wealth will grow richer with each new detail. With that, the greatest lesson may lie in how we handle the past. Respect for ancient sites and careful study can reveal truths hidden for many years. Archaeology walks a fine line between discovery and preservation. As conversations continue, one thing is clear. This chamber beneath Jerusalem holds more than objects. It holds stories of trade, power, and belief that shaped a region. The crack in the stone seal did more than reveal treasure. It opened a door to questions that may never fully close. The heavy slab may rest once more, but our journey has only begun. What tales lie in forgotten scrolls? Will the Golden Cup deliver proof of royalty? Each artifact adds a piece to a puzzle that spans ages. Stay tuned as experts study every shard and scroll. Ciao.